So, what's up people and welcome to the Mission 113 discussion of Spy Family. So Mission 113 came out about a week ago, and as always I will leave a link to this mission that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this mission back. Okay, so 113. 113 starts off where 112 left off. And wow, I remember in 112 I mentioned that, Damian is going to become sensitive to Anya's sudden popularity, especially with the two boys, Tertius and Freddy. But I didn't expect it to be this bad. And 113 shows just how severe it is for Damian. And although this mission is specifically focused towards Damian, and we do get some more information with regards to his character and his character development, what I liked about this mission was that it was equally as much about Emil and Ewan. And the more you keep on watching these two characters, the more you realize just how good a friend these two characters are to Damian. And not only to Damian, but also to each other. Because although Emil and Ewan become somewhat worried about Damian becoming friends with other people, they don't really argue amongst themselves about who is the better friend between each other, but they continue to look for ways of being able to support Damian more. There is never a feeling of negativity between these two characters, and they really do care about Damian as much as they do about each other. And so these two characters turn out to be very good characters not only for Damian, but also for the story. But in any case, 113 starts out where Damian is kind of sitting around swatting what looks like flies, and Emil and Ewan are going, what the heck is he doing? And we're not exactly sure either, but at the same time, Anya, along with her two cronies, Freddy and Tertius, start walking down the hall near Damian, and Damian notices them, and he starts swatting even harder. And what we find out is that Damian has materialized his jealousy. And it's at this point that you realize that Damian has fallen pretty hard for Anya. Maybe not because she's Anya and he has a crush on her, it may be, but most likely because all of a sudden she's become popular and there are other people going after her. And that irritates him significantly. And of course, of the characters who notice this, it's Becky. And Becky starts going, well, Damian, if you don't start doing something about this, you know what's going to happen. And she starts talking about her two cronies now, Fangboy and Little Prince, which are, of course, Freddy and Tertius. And because this is Becky, she starts creating this weird romantic scenario about Anya and her two harems. And then she starts creating a complete story where Anya gets proposed by Tertius, and Becky starts saying that Anya may decide to actually move to Tertius's country. And we get the scene where Becky's going, well, that's beautiful, Anya, but what about Damian, or I should say Scion Boy? And Anya's like, who are you talking about? And since this is Becky's dream, we see this more mature looking Becky talking to Anya. And then we see the scene where Becky is waving goodbye to Anya as she travels away to the prince's country. And although Becky says, well, it hasn't happened yet, but it's only a matter of time until this happens, you know? And this completely works on Damian. And so that night you see all these materializations of Damian's jealousy and anxiety get together to become this gigantic monster that Damian has to battle. And as much as he continues to battle the monster, it never goes away. It comes back again, and it continues to destroy Damian. And of course, Damian realizes that it's a dream. He wakes up from it. And of course, that makes Emil and Ewan, who are all roomies, worry about him. And so Emil and Ewan finally goes, don't keep all your problems to yourself. If you got problems, then you can talk to us. We're always going to be supportive of you. But Damian, of course, can't tell Emil and Ewan that the problems that he has stems out of the jealousy that he has for Anya. And so, of course, as usual, Damian starts creating this imaginary friend who's having problems. And of course, he reflects his own problems to this imaginary friend and then says, well, if you know how to resolve the problem that this friend has, then maybe your advice will be helpful. But then class starts, and so they have to get ready for school. And the only thing that happened with Emil and Ewan is now they become jealous of whoever this imaginary friend is. They think that Damian has created a new friend, and they're gonna get left behind. So rather than solution, it has just amplified the problem. And so now you see that Emil and Ewan both have this materialization of their own jealousy to this stupid imaginary friend, and none of them can now sleep at night. And despite all the problems that Emil and Ewan have with regards to their own jealousy, they decided to look into this, not just for themselves, but especially to help out Damian. But while they're doing that, they start questioning themselves, especially Ewan, when he starts saying, is looking for a solution even worthwhile, considering the fact that they're not even considered Damian's best friend anymore. And it's Emil that says, we can't give up. We have to figure out what we can do for Damian, who they consider to be best friends still. And so rather than to go through books in the library, they decide to go ask Mr. Green, of all people, any advice that he may have with regards to this feeling. And after laughing at how these kids are finally growing up and learning to discover their feelings, Mr. Green starts giving them advice. And he starts saying, you shouldn't get all caught up in the jealousy. You have to be able to be free from its clutches. And one way, of course, is to be honest to Damian, which Emil and Ewan have a difficulty doing because they're not really sure if they could vocalize that they like Damian so much. And so Mr. Green says, well, if that's the case, then what you might have to do is to change the way you think about this situation. You have to actually create a paradigm shift in the way you feel. And rather than to battle the jealousy, what you have to do is come to terms that you do have this feeling for Damian. And by doing so, you get out of denial and you start accepting that no, you're not perfect people. There may be lacks of confidence within yourself that you rely on Damian. But by accepting that situation, you start understanding who you are and become honest with yourself. And if this buzzing around or bugging around the personification of your feelings exists, then rather than to keep on fighting it or to pretend like it doesn't exist, which will constantly keep you in that problem, what you have to do is to acknowledge that it exists and even if possible, actually befriend the feeling and embrace it. And I thought that that was an interesting point with regards to what Mr. Green said. Because what they're talking about is accepting yourself for who you are. All the good points and all the bad points. And in fact, if you embrace it, then you may be able to take some of your bad points and bring it out to be good points. I've always thought that characters are oftentimes a combination of good and bad. But good and bad is a situation that depends upon the environment just as much as the person. A person who is fantastic during war may not be the best person during peace. And so a personality of somebody may turn out to be a double-edged sword. A person who's open-minded may turn out to be too wishy-washy if they get too much open-minded. A person who is confident may turn out to be very stubborn because they're not willing to consider other people's opinion. And so both sides can have a strong side and have a weak side. And the fact that they are very much a friend of Damian's is not a bad thing at all. And so once they understand that they find Damian to be a very important friend, then they may be able to not only accept the jealousy that they feel because it's a byproduct of their feelings towards Damian, but embrace that, understand that yes, they have a very valuable relationship with Damian, and this feeling is a proof of that strong friendship. And so Ewan and Emil go back to once again personify that feeling that they have, and they decide to embrace it. And so with that, not only do they do it for themselves, but they tell Damian this advice. And what we didn't see during the conversation was that Mr. Green said that people who can accept and embrace their negative side possess a powerful paradise fist. And I don't know exactly what that means, but Ewan describes it as an imagination of that ability to change one's feelings to accept their problems. And so Damian sitting there turning the paradise fist into an imaginary object and looking at his own hand. And finally Ewan says, considering how serious you are with this friend must be a very close friend for yours. And Damian replies, no, he's not really my friend. He's just one of my brother's classmates' cousins. The only two friends I have are you two. Which of course makes Emil and Ewan very happy. And so their problem is resolved. And that night, Damian has this dream where he has turned the paradise fist into a true object. And he goes to see his own anxiety and jealousy, which is of course this giant monster. And rather than to use this fist to battle, he uses the fist in a way that it's supposed to be, which is to come to terms with this monster. And he offers the fist in order to shake the monster's hand. And the monster chuckles, do you think you can make peace with me? And because this is Damian Desmond, Donovan's son, he has this confidence that comes out and says, I will have to, because I am the son of Donovan Desmond, the man who stopped the war in the past, and I have to become as strong as he does. And so with that, he does come to terms with his jealousy. And what's interesting is the next day when Becky is coming to school, she notices that Damian is wearing this weird cardboard fist, which he, I guess, built to represent his paradise fist. And when Becky asks what that is, of course, Damian proudly says that it's a physical manifestation of the paradise fist, to which Becky's like, what the heck are you talking about? It's the ugliest looking thing that I've ever seen, and if you think that you're going to look cool with that, then you're completely mistaken. And Damian gets mad until he notices that Anya's with her cronies again, and her cronies are blabbing away, but Anya's starting to get tired of hanging out with them all the time. And when she sees the paradise fist, she's like, oh my gosh, this looks super cool. Which is a portrayal of Anya's characteristic. If Anya came out in One Piece, she would fall in the Luffy side, right? If Frankie did a very special thing and both Nami and Robin were like, God, Frankie's doing it again, Anya will be the type of character who would actually say, Frankie, that looks really cool, along with Usopp and Luffy, right? So here she is, accepting not only Damian's paradise fist, but admiring it. And of course, considering we know about Damian's feelings, he's like, yeah, whatever. But most likely, he's feeling a lot better now that he has Anya's attention. But not only does he get Anya's attention, he gets Mr. Henderson's attention, and he starts scolding Damian for bringing such a weird thing to school. And later on in the day, Mr. Henderson talks about Damian's antics to Mr. Green. And Mr. Green is like, that's pretty good. I guess they had some solutions based upon the problems that they had and the advice that they came to see me about. Which of course makes now Mr. Henderson jealous of Mr. Green because they ignored Mr. Henderson and they went to Mr. Green for advice considering Mr. Henderson is their homeroom teacher. Yeah, Mr. Henderson, your actions right now are not particularly elegant, but it does show a very interesting characteristic of your persona as well. But this is very interesting, this story, in a sense that at the very end, you do see that Damian comes to terms with his feelings. And considering the feelings are with regards to his jealousy, and considering his jealousy stemmed from Anya, does that mean that he came to terms with his feelings towards Anya? And if he does, then will there be a change in his personality with regards to him pretending like he doesn't like Anya, but actually embracing the fact that he does care for her? In which case there may be a change in personality and relationship as this goes forward. And if it does, then wow, that will be a big win once again to the Dami Anya ship fans of this series. But it will be interesting to see because at the very end we also saw that Anya ran away from those two kids and went back to hanging out with Damian again. And I don't know about Freddy, but I got a feeling that Tertius is that type of personality who can't accept that sort of situation. So this will create a much greater competition between Damian and Tertius with regards to Anya. And I hope that goes in that direction because it will create some really funny situations I think that Tatsuya Endo can make in the future series. But in any case, this was the discussion for chapter 113. If you read it, what you think about it? I thought that this was a very interesting character reveal for Damian as well as Emil and Ewan. And it was a very interesting way how Tatsuya Endo brought this story and resolved their problems. But in any case, any comments that you can give will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.